Apples. Thanks so much for stopping by Apples Art Studio, the Polymer Clay tutorial channel. On my channel, I try to show you everything I know about polymer clay and how to use it. So let's go and watch and see what I have in store for you today. These are some pendants I made quite a while back. In fact, this one and this one is in a video that I did for the Tiny Pandora design team using Tiny Pandora's tiny tats onto a necklace, and I made my own bail, and I will link the video in the description to this. It was a combination video. I did the pendants and Tracey Jones did the DeepShine. So I'll link it so you all can have that if you want to do that and add tiny tats to the necklaces or anything. They're cool. And these are just some other pendants that I made, obviously, from that same bunch of scraps. I think I was making something huge in black and white and red, and it didn't turn out, so I had quite a bit of scraps like this. So these are the necklaces that we're going to be making, and some of these things I showed you in the last video. This is a safari ribbon. This is the 3mm black cord. It's leather. This is the one that was called the thick cotton cord, and I have two of these cut. This one is the regular cording that you can buy, and I went on and put a bail on there. I have eye screws already in the ends of all of these that needed it. I'm going to start with the easiest one first, and that's the pre-made necklace. And this is a black one to match my red, black, and what's turned into be gray. And you just need to make sure that your bail will fit over the chain and that little spring right there. And it's a good idea to put chain links on your necklaces if you can. That helps adjust the length of it, even if it's just a little bit. So if somebody just needs that extra inch or so on there, that'll help. But now you can put a jump ring onto the bail and hook it onto your piece. So let's get that one out of the way. And the next one I'm going to show you is the safari ribbon into a ribbon holder. And I'm going to use my silicone rubber tip jaw tools or pliers to do this so it doesn't mar my piece. And I'm going to hold it right in there, and I'm going to take my ribbon and we'll fold it over just a little bit to make sure it'll fit in there. Then I'm going to slide it in there. Then I'm going to take my pliers and try not to slide it out. Let's see if I can hold this better with my fingers. and you just press it down. Now you're going to get all these strings from your safari ribbon, and when I'm through working with it, basically, I try to go through and cut all the straggly strings off. And it may take a bit of a needle tool to get the end in there well. Let's make sure this end's in there. Okay. And it's connected and it's not going to come loose. Okay, so I've got my necklace strung on my cording. And you can do a couple of things. Let's do this one first. This is the hook, and I'm going to add a tiny bit of super glue just to hold my cording while I'm doing this. And these things come in different sizes, so this cord just happens to fit right in there. Let me lay it down. Get my needle tool, poke it down. It has the super glue in there, and I will let it set just for a minute so it will take up and hold that a little bit better just while I'm working on it. And I will take my flat nose pliers. Let me see if I can hold this so you can see what I'm doing. We'll take my flat nose pliers, just going to put them on one side of this and bend it over. And you might have to coax it a little bit on the first go around. And then I'm going to turn it over and do the same thing on this side. Grab my pliers on the outside of it. Now this is the thing I saw the crimping tool on the other day. Never had seen it before. And I looked on Amazon and it's there. It's just $10. And that's going to be my next tool. Because you just slide this thing up in that crimping tool and press, and it does both steps at once. I just need to flatten this out a little bit. Okay, it's not coming out now. And that's how you do that. Like I said, I'm going to look for the tool on Amazon and order it because I think that can get real finicky. If you don't have any of these endings of any kind and you have some larger jump rings, you can use jump rings on the end of this. And you just take your, and these are stronger than these. These are a heavier jump ring and they're a little bit stronger than what these decorative ones are. So those would be the ones I'd choose to use. and you just put your cording through there and fold it down a little bit. And we'll take some 24 gauge wire. Not much, just enough to wrap it around there several times. So you're going to connect your jump ring onto your cording at the same time you're wrapping your cording. And I like to bend my wire just about the length of my cord, so that's sitting straight up in there and gives me a place to wrap to that's a little bit stronger than just trying to wrap it on the cord. And this is a thin enough wire that you can just do it by hand. If you want a thicker wire look, that's great. Use a heavier wire. Use your 20 gauge or even your 22 gauge. Depending on your pendant is how thick your wire should be. You know, what's your pendant going to look like? So I'm just continue wrapping until I get to the top. And I will take my nails and squish it all up there. I will cut it off. And I'm going to go back and press it down so it's not catching onto anything. And here's a wire wrapped in with just a heavier jump ring on it. And you can add another jump ring to it, or you can open this one and put your toggle on. I would probably add another jump ring, maybe not quite as large as this one. But with your wrapping in mind, the way we did this, get this jump ring out of the way. And these little ones, you do it the same way. They're just harder to do, in my opinion. Okay, I did the same thing with this one. I wrapped my wire, stuck it up in there, brought it through this end right here, made a loop, and wrapped the tail around so it would stay, and then added a jump ring. And this is my magnetic clasp that I put on there. So it's the same thing. It's just wrapping the end of that wire the same way. You just have a wire coming back out, and we'll do it in a minute. You have your wire, you don't cut it off, you just feed it back out, feed it up through your cone or whatever end you're using, and then with that same wire you wrapped with, you make your hoop on the other end. So we've got those done. I'm trying to show you everything that I showed you last week. Okay, with this little barrel, it's the same thing. I'd put some super glue down in there. I'd put my cording down in there. You may have to double it over and then take a needle tool and press it down in there to make sure it's in there. And then your hoop is on the other end to hook your jump ring to. This again is my 24 gauge wire that I just had. And we'll bend it up, because now we're going to wrap the ribbon, and I bent it up. Let me go back out a little bit. I bent it up so I can place it in my ribbon, and we're heading to this cone size. So that's how big my opening is on the bottom end, and that's coming out the top where my clasp is going to go. And I'm going to do the same thing. I bent that wire. And you don't want this any longer than your cone where you're wire wrapping. And this can be a little bit more difficult because you're working with a ribbon and not a cord that has some substance to it. Hold this in with the pliers. And I'm going to wrap it. I'm going to wrap it quite tight. And remember, it's got to come out the top and just have enough room to make a loop on there. So I straightened all that out. I squished it all down. And you have to do this end before you do the loop on top. And I will pull it tight, and all you see is my ribbon right there. You don't see any of the wire hanging out. So I'm going to turn that over, and I will get my loopers, and I just need this to go around one time. There's my loop. Let me straighten it up. And we'll take this wire, and I just need to go around it one time, and that will hold. So let me move it down just a little bit, because I don't want that straight wire showing. So however much space you give on your wire here to the end of your cone is how much room you're going to have to wrap a wire in. So I just want enough to make my hoop and wrap it once, maybe twice. See my loop sitting right on top of that right now. Let's see if I can get. You can't see any wire at the bottom, and my wire's sitting right on top. I'm just going to take it around. Wrap it around a couple of times. Let me get this one little tail right there. Press it down. Or if you can get in there and cut that little tip off, it will little tip of wire right there. There we go. So there's your cone put on. That's that one. Now remember, if you put your end on, one end, make sure, because I've done this, you don't get really excited and not put your pendant on. Because once you get that other end on, that's it. Let me work this ribbon through here. When I made these, I made a large enough hole for a lot of things, but I wasn't quite sure what I was going to put on there to string it. And if you want to add any beads to this, you know, do it before, you know, do this side before you put your pendant on, and do this side before you put your end on. And I do have some beads that I think will hold on here without crimping anything that may look cool, so I may do that on the finished project. But this isn't about beads or adding beads. This is about what you do to the ends of your cords and chains. Chains are the same thing. You can add a small chain up in here. I would put a wire, a head pin or something hooking to the last link of that chain. Stick it up in there, run your wire out, and put your hoop on the other end and wrap it just like we just did. And you can use chains with these too. So let me work and get all of these finished up, and I'll have pictures at the end of the video. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. We'll see how many more I can get out of this series. I just went through a bunch of my things in the closet box, and there was a lot of things I forgot about. They may have been in my closet for 4 or 5 years, so some of them were really cool. But I can only assemble things for so long, and then I have to get back to creating. And I have a whole lot of little glass jars that I'd really like to show you how to put polymer clay on glass. So that may be the next series. So until then, thanks so much for watching and supporting my channel. I really appreciate it, because I really love to do what I'm doing by teaching you what I know. So thanks again. Blessings.